All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 25th of October, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Thinking about what we were going to do for this episode of Flyers Daily, and usually on an off day, I kind of have, an idea where I want to go, what I want to talk about, especially in season. Like, geez, I was counting down the days to get into the season for 6 months. Like, it was bananas, right? Like, I was annoying with the stupid countdown clock. 68 days until training camp, 74 days of the first game, whatever. But here we are, and on the 25th of October, after, what, is it 7 games? I'm going, okay, what am I going to talk about in this episode? Not because there's not nothing to talk about, but because I have to figure out, and I think we all do, how we handle this season. Because last season, through 80% of it, it went really well. They fell apart at the end. They missed the playoffs. I don't think anybody was predicting playoffs last year. But this year, because of that first 80% last year, we go, well, everything's linear, right? There's a logical step forward. 87 points last year. Is 91 too much to ask this year? And now all of a sudden, they're off to a 1-5-1 start. And we're going, where are we going? How do I process this? Does this mean that it's going to be a miserable season? Does this mean they're just off to a slow start? Does this mean guys are going to regress this year that we expected to progress? Guys that were expected to take the next step? What does this all mean? And in thinking about the episode, I realized this. I have no clue what it means. I've been telling you a lot lately that I don't have a clue. Here's what I know. And that's what I wanted to figure out. What do I know and what do I not know? We're going to get to 3 Flyer fan listener emails too in this episode. I think it's important at this time when a lot of us don't know. And a lot of us are frustrated. And we're disappointed how this year has started, to have these conversations, respond to the emails, DMs, and all of those things. But here's what I do know. If they're going to get things straightened out, hopefully beginning Saturday against the Minnesota Wild, there's a couple of things that they are doing that they need to maintain. Okay, what are the things that they're doing that they need to keep doing to have success? The power play. The power play, I mean, it has been so horrid the past few years that even a minor improvement would have felt like a lot. But it's been a huge improvement. Now, it's a small sample size. It's only 7 games in. But they're 11th in the NHL at 24.1. I think they were at 12.2% last year. So that is a huge difference. They have 7 power play goals. They have 2 games with multiple power play goals, including the last one. So that has to continue for them to turn it around. What else has to continue? Well, the penalty kill. And you look at the penalty kill and I go, this one, the power play is probably not going to stay at 24% all year. Maybe it can be 18, 19, 20% over the large sample size of a season. The power play, or the PK rather, it's at 89.7 right now. That's a ridiculous number. But if it's at like 84, 85, I think that's achievable. They're second in the NHL right now on the PK. Only Dallas is higher at 95.5%. And the Flyers, like I said, are number 2 at 89.7, ahead of Nashville and ahead of the Montreal Canadiens. So those 2 things need to continue. But what needs to be better? Well, we can go with the obvious things like the structure, the defensive zone, system, goaltending at times, in particular from the backup, although I thought he was better in the second Washington game. So that's a step forward. There 5-on-5 play has to be better. Their mental game has to be better. I like one thing that really stuck in my craw yesterday as I was kind of recalibrating my mind was the first period of the second game against Washington. That they only had 3 shots on goal in that first period. To me, that's a part of the mental game. So all of those things need to get better. Can they get better? Sure. Will they get better? I don't know. But that's about where I am right now. As I'm trying to kind of recalibrate a little bit here. I don't know if it's time for me to change expectations and go, are there going to be a team that's going to battle the end for a playoff spot? And hopefully they get in, unlike last year. 7 games in, I'm not going to change my expectation yet. Now, last year, I wouldn't say the P word, playoffs, until I think close to Christmas. Because I didn't believe it at the beginning of the year, and I needed to see more. I still need to see more in this situation, too. That's just where I am with it. I know not everybody's in the same place right now. Everybody's not going to be in the same place. But that's where I am right now. I'm not ready to abandon my preseason expectation because of this start, even though there's a lot of elements about it that I don't like. All right, let's get to a few emails here in this episode as well. Let's start off first and foremost with Alexander. Alexander says, Jason, I write you just after listening to your most recent episode, that was yesterday's, and not knowing how to feel about the first few games of the season. He said, logically, I know it's early and there are many more games to be played, but my eyes don't deceive me in seeing the lack of effort and flat out just bad hockey on the ice. I'm going to take this in pieces as we go. I don't think there's a lack of effort. I don't think the 3 shots in the first period were a lack of effort. I think it's the mental part of the game and being on the same page with your teammates. I don't think it's an effort thing. I don't think hockey players, for the most part, lack effort. I don't. But that's just my opinion on it. After midway through, he said, Alexander went on, after midway through the second period last night, there was a play where Tippett had a one-on-one with a defender and elected to circle around and make a low percentage pass that ended up going to the other way. He said, after that, I just said out loud, let's just get pucks on net. The worst that can happen is the goalie saves it. Lo and behold, they started doing that, and they began to crawl back into the game. I feel like the Flyers this season are afraid to put pucks on net, and it's become more and more frustrating to watch. I'm not one of those guys that scream, shoot, all the time by any means, but when the opportunity presents itself and the Flyers elect to give up the puck, I grow increasingly frustrated. Wanted to get your opinion on something. Do you think the drastic lineup changes early in the season have prevented the Flyers from building that chemistry and brotherhood? I understand a healthy scratch or 2 each night, but it seems we scratch 3 guys one game and then add them to the lineup the next night in hopes of a better outcome. As professionals, I understand that you should be able to play with anyone on any occasion, but the constant lineup shuffles seem to disrupt any cohesiveness the team can build on. Alex. He said, P.S. Scouting report has Fedotov's 5-hole wide open. First and foremost, for example, the play that you mentioned with Tippett, I think what we see on TV sometimes or what we see when we're a little raised up in the stands is not what they see on the ice. And NHL players don't like to just shoot the puck. They like to make the play as high danger of a scoring chance as possible, which is sometimes frustrating for us watching, especially when a team's struggling to score. And it's also frustrating when the team, you're going, come on, just get puck. It seems so simple sometimes from where we sit. But players' confidence, those things all wane. As far as chemistry goes, yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of it is all the special teams play doesn't help. But there have been guys in and out of the lineup. Forster came out and then went back in. Lachenko's been out for 2. What's the situation with him? Noah Cates has played 3 games now, the last 2. Is he in the lineup for good? There's a lot of questions, and they got to figure these things out. I don't like mass changes, but things haven't been going well. So if you're a coach, you go, how do I not make significant changes and lineup adjustments and all that stuff if things are going this poorly? Wouldn't I be kind of the guy that says, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? So that's maybe one way you have to think about it. By the way, that's not the only email that will reference the 5-hole of Ivan Fedotov. So let's get to that one. This one comes from Ethan Freeman. He says, "Hey, Jason, after watching the last few games where Fedotov has started for the Flyers, I have a couple goalie questions. I wonder if you could shed some light on them. Before my question, I want to be clear. I'm in no way giving up on Fedotov, as I think or hope he can prove to be a decent backup in the NHL, maybe more than that with time. But my question is about all of the 5-hole goals that are going in on him from distance. Most recently, the Dow goal, number 2 in Washington. It seems to be a place that teams are targeting when shooting on him, and I can't blame them because it definitely appears to be one of the weaker areas of his crease coverage so far this season. But watching this happen over and over again, I'm constantly wondering what he is and not doing that's making it such a vulnerable spot." He said, as a skater shooting on Fedotov, I would imagine his size and certainly is daunting to look at, but at first glance. But I would also imagine that when standing, the taller goalie means 5-hole holes, gaps are also bigger. And in this case, my guess would be 5-hole has at least 3/4 more compared to the other goalies in the league. He said, so what is he supposed to do trying to defend against these 5-hole goals? He goes on to say some other things about Ben Bishop, who was also a very tall goalie. But, yeah, the bigger goalie, longer legs. There's obviously, longer arms. Everything looks different. And we've seen some smaller goalies, whether it's Jonathan Quick, whether it was Brian Elliott when he was here. Alexei Kolosov, as a matter of fact, are very wide stance goalies. They really get wide, and since they're wide, their legs are on a different angle, and the 5-hole is, maybe it's wider, but it's not as tall. So I think with Fedotov, the 5-hole has been an issue, and on shots from distance. I think that, to me, is specifically because he's picking up the puck late, off the stick, or off a deflection, or off around a screen. I think those things are all part of that equation, that he's picking up the read of the shot late, and it's not allowing him to get down and closed. So first you go down into the butterfly, then you close. Or you come down and you're closed. He comes down and he's a little open in the 5-hole. He needs to come down and close. Have his pads, the front of his pads, come down and close that door. That's another technical element that he needs to work out. He's going down and they're a little bit open, and then he's trying to pull them together. That extra movement in the NHL doesn't work. So that is something that he's going to have to improve on, is down, reading the shot slow, getting down, or tip or deflection, and sealing up that 5-hole as quickly as possible. That's something that he can work on with his goalie coach as well. All right, let's get to one more. Dylan says, "Hey, Jason, I'm a long-time listener to Flyers Daily, but this is my first time writing in. You do a good job covering the Flyers, and I look forward to watching your videos or episodes on YouTube." He said, "What do you think of Farabee so far this season?" He said, "I thought he looked fine in the first few games of the year, but has been struggling of late in the last handful of games. I was hoping for a big year from him because I think it's a make-or-break season for him if he wants to be here for the future. The way I see it, he'd be the most likely top 9 forward to be traded if he wasn't our only top 9 natural left winger. Thanks for the great content. Hope for the Flyers to turn it around soon." Yeah, he's a guy that I had big expectations for this year. They don't have a lot of natural left wingers. They have a ton of right wingers. Too many. They are redundant at the right winger position. I predicted that Joel Farabee would lead the team in goals, that he would score 30 goals this season. That was one of my predictions. He's got 1 so far. He, like everybody, though, is struggling together. But he's one of those guys that doesn't see a lot of power play time. He's been on some power play too. But he's a guy that is probably not going to be on the top power play unit, but can score and always will be around the net. He's the kind of guy, when you're not scoring in transition, can help lead you out of your goal-scoring struggles because he goes to the net. So, yeah, I thought Farabee would be off to a better start. He's not. I still expect big things from Joel Farabee. All right, we're going to cut this one a little short tonight because yours truly is not feeling great. But we will be back at full strength tomorrow. So join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.